Okay, guys. Yeah, sorry about that. We Michelle doxed us, so I had to shut it down. Make the fold here with 5-7 off. Reading a little bit of these polls you're mentioning here, Poker Fun. And I'm not finding it. Looking on RasmussenReports.com, and I'm not seeing a poll that says that Trump is winning this race. Daily presidential tracking poll from Friday just shows a bunch of stuff about make the fold there with 8-6 off.
It's that trip we took.
Please enter the following ONECEYMORE.
Yeah, I didn't understand that either, guys. So I'm supposed to watch a commercial and enter a code to look at these polls. Yeah, I don't care enough. I'm not gonna do it. I like Nate Silver's election forecast. I think that he's pretty strong when it comes to it. It looks like he has Arizona going Trump now. He had it going Clinton. So maybe he gets Arizona. Maybe. But he has Clinton in Nevada at 72.9%, which, if I remember from last week before the Billy Bush comments came out, that was in the 60s. It's not going to be close, man. It's going to be a landslide. It's going to be a landslide. Clinton in a landslide is going to win by like 100 votes, 100 electoral votes, and it's going to be a huge popular vote crush. There'll be some good things that come from it, I think. 20, 30 years after all's said and done, we're going to look back and we're going to say, yeah, that was the first female president of the United States of America. I think that's going to do good things for the world. I think when you've got young girls in the Middle East catching glimpses of a newspaper or glimpses of a television news program, and they see the most powerful person in the world is is Hillary Clinton. Is a female, is a woman, and then it starts making them think, well, maybe women aren't second-class citizens. I think that it could be a good thing for equality reasons. Other than that, I think it's just going to be more of the same of what we've seen in the last 8 years and the 8 years before that. I don't really think that there's much of a difference between the Bush agenda and the Clinton agenda. Worries me a little bit when she starts calling out Russia as our adversary. That's some saber rattling right there. And I don't know what we should do in Syria. So if you guys have been following that, maybe you haven't. I wasn't really following it until we had a long road trip and kind of caught up in some news podcasts. What's going on in Syria? So you got this guy Bashar al-Assad. Al-Assad? How do you pronounce that last name? Anyway, his dad, I guess, was the king of Syria. He inherited the position after doing some college stints. Married I think a chick from England or France. He seems kind of Western, He kind of has Western, a Western education, Western ideals, and now he's, put in charge of Syria. And you've got like this rebel group that's trying to overthrow him, and he starts really just crushing the rebels as well as the civilians who were around the rebels. Used some chemical weapons against his own people. And in his mind, he's crushing these rebels who are trying to overthrow his government. Why are they trying to overthrow the government? What is the rebel agenda? What's so bad about Bashar al-Assad? I don't really know. And it seems like there are some definite ties between ISIS and the rebel groups. It's complicated out there because you get these situations where our enemies are fighting other people who aren't really good people, and we're supposed to be choosing sides as Americans. Why do we have to choose sides here? Because it's our job to police the world, I guess. I don't know what we're supposed to be doing in Syria. I definitely think that when you start seeing pictures of little kids getting bombed, this is a problem. Does that mean that we need to send in troops into Syria? I mean, I don't think that's a good idea. Not unilaterally. We've got the UN for a reason. And he got Russia backing Bashar. A bunch of airstrikes against these rebel cities, but these rebels aren't just hiding in military bases by themselves. They're hiding with their aunts and uncles and cousins and family. And there's just a ton of collateral damage. Just so many civilians just getting wrecked. Let's ask Google. Why do the rebels in Syria what do Syrian rebels want? First off, they consist of a lot of different groups without a central leader. Al-Qaeda is one of the rebel groups. Jackfruit making it 3x. I'm going to make the fold here. So, according to this, it all started in February 2011 when a bunch of school kids were painting graffiti on the walls of a school, anti-government graffiti, and they got arrested. And so then there started becoming these demonstrations, and Syrian security forces just opened fire, just gunned them down, killed 4 protesters, and that's when the protesters decided we need to overthrow Bashar al-Assad because he's ruthless and he's killing civilians. What do they want? Well, there's not really a they. It's like a bunch of different groups. How did it come to this? Jeez. So, it's just kind of this ruthless dictatorship. I mean, it doesn't look like they want anything in particular except just to overthrow a ruthless dictatorship that's been oppressing people. Yeah, I don't know. Let's make the check back here. I'm talking about a table you guys can't see. Okay, making the fold here with ace 2 off. 11 out of 18. We're down to 2 tables. It pays 8. T11B7. We got Voff, 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 Tom Hammers, Telomere. Actually, I like this table a lot more than the table we started at. Ace 10 off looks pretty good. What do we got? T11B7 making a shove. Wouldn't surprise me. I think I might have to make the call with ace 10. If not with ace 10, then with what? ULGG making the shove. 10 bigs. I wouldn't blame you. Just get the walk. They know. They know. We got our finger on the call button. Make the fold there. I don't think there's anything that Bashar al-Assad right now could give the Syrian rebels uh, to, to stop the conflict there. I mean, at this point, there's been so many casualties and so many victims of the civil war, basically, that they're not really, the rebels don't want anything except his regime gone and probably him dead. I think that's the only thing that's going to stop that Syrian conflict. Huh. It's rough. It's rough when you don't have defined goals. I remember, this is what's wrong with the war on drugs. It's what's wrong with the war on terrorism. Why they're not real wars, is because if you don't have a defined goal in a war, you can't actually win the war. The idea behind a war is you have a goal, you have an objective, and if you meet that objective, you win the war. If you lose that objective, you lose the war. And without a clear objective, then there's no victory and there's no end. A war on terror. What would that mean, like, to win the war on terror? We're winning the war on terror. What does that even mean? Could you imagine a newspaper headline? You wake up one day, it says, "America has won the war on terror." we have rooted out the last terrorist in the world and drone striked him. We droned him, the very last one. The war on terror is now over. Victory Day. I'm really tempted to see a flop here. Let's do it. Let's do it. It's a big enough percentage that maybe I should have just made the fold against Snarfblatt here. I mean, we're basically set mining. But on the other hand, I think there's a lot of flops here where maybe we're not set mining. Maybe we can nah. That's not the flop. If it was like 9-5-2, maybe we can play pocket threes like it's the best hand. Pocket jacks action looks pretty good. I'll tell you one thing though, guys. The media sure made a big deal about Gary Johnson not knowing where Aleppo was. I didn't really think that was a very big deal. I don't think it should have disqualified him as president. They made such a huge deal out of it. I'd be, pretty surprised if before that news cycle you walked down the street and asked, 40 people where Aleppo was. I don't think a big chunk of them would have known. Okay, that looks pretty good. Oh, jeez. How unfair is poker sometimes? Getting it in so good with pocket jacks versus pocket threes, and he just screws us. Just screws us. 85% to be up to 46K. Third place chips. No, here you go, jackfruit. Get it all in with a horrible hand. Get rewarded. So it goes. It's a big hit. So now what are we looking at? 5. Eight bigs. 8 big blinds with a big blind about to hit us. After that, we're going to be looking at 6 big blinds. Well, at least it's an easy stack to play. And yeah, good to see you, Maverick, by the way. Thanks for the, you just said nice comeback. Thank you. Thank you for the nice comeback remark. So with 8 big blinds, I'm pretty sure that we're supposed to put the defense up right here if T11B7 or ULGG make the shove. Yeah, it's going to be a call. I'm not going to like it. But enough of the time he's making a shove with like Queen 10, Jack 10, King 8. Wow, we get the walk. I don't understand how these guys can give us a walk like that. I'm not going to complain, though. All right. So Snarfblatt making a min raise. Make the fold. Make the fold, UL. Make the shove here. Do we get through with our King 7 suited? 1 down. How about you, faded? 2 down. Okay. Coming back. Good to see you, Eumius. What's your grind look like tonight? It looks like you're in this 30 with us, right next to us too. I'm 19th and the 3K guaranteed, and you're 20th. You need anything else? That's funny. That's true, Eumius. Oh man. All right, so ULGG making the shove, faded making the call, and this looks like it's going to be curtains for ULGG probably. Ace Jack versus Jack 10, yeah. Looking for that. Well, now he's got more outs, 7 outs. It's not going to do it. So blinds are up. 10-7 off. I'll make the fold here. So we're looking at like a little less than 8 bigs. We're going to fade a big blind, fade a small blind, and be at 6 bigs. And we're at a 7-handed table. Ugh. I hate this spot. How did we get here? How did we get here? Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, I remember how we got here. Blah blah blah, making the shove. We got 10 high, 10-6 offsuit, making the fold. It's not an any 2 card call there. What's up, Z-Man? Good to see you. Says, how about a call you think this is? Blinds 200, 400. MP1 opens for min raise. I flat. Ace king in low jack. I still just think it's funny that people call that position the low jack. Okay, so you make the call with ace king. Button jams, 10 big blinds. Opener calls. I jam for 25,000. Okay, so here it goes. The opener makes it 800. You make the call with ace king. The button shoves for 4,000. He makes the call. You shove for 25,000. He has 27 in front, so he has to call 21,000 more. And there's already 12,000 dead money in. So he's getting like 1.5 to 1 to make the call. And in his head, he's thinking that you're just making the squeeze play. He calls you with queen 10 suited. So in his head, he's thinking, well, if he has threes and he has sevens, then I'm a favorite here. But if he has ace king and he has ace king, then I'm also looking pretty good. How bad of a call is it? I actually think it's not as bad of a call as if he had king queen. I'd rather make a call like that with queen 10 suited than king queen. At least with queen 10 suited, you're not going to be completely dominated, and sometimes you are in a situation where you're running queen 10 suited against 2 pocket pairs, or queen 10 suited against ace king and ace king, or ace king and pocket threes. And in those kind of situations, queen 10 suited isn't going to really perform that horribly, especially when he's getting 1.5 to 1. How bad of a call is it? I mean, I wouldn't make the call. I don't think it's a good call, but I wouldn't rank it among the top 10 worst calls I've ever seen. It does suck when you get it all in there with the ace king. I take it that the ace king didn't hold up. I take it that the queen 10 suited actually cracked the ace king. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't even be thinking twice about the hand. How bad of a call is it? It's not a good call. I would, from a 1 to 10, with 1 being, calling with aces there, meaning it's not a bad call at all, versus 10 being he calls with 2-3 because he just has a feeling. I guess I would probably put it somewhere around a 6. I'd put it at a 6. Okay. Make the fold here with king 9 suited. Captain Wesker, good to see you, man. He says, made it home safe and sound. Andrew digging that wolf hat. Good to see you, bud. It's a pleasure hanging out a little bit this week. Gosh, we've been shoving telomere so much. We're really missing out. We're missing our opportunities here. Five and a half bigs. I don't see it's getting through anymore. I don't see us getting through anymore. We're going to have to fade, but hopefully we'll have the better hand. Looks like fade is going to make the call. Oh, wow. Nit rolled us a little bit. So we got some outs. Hit it. That's going to do it. I don't know what he's even thinking about. Maybe he's multi-tabling. Maybe he's coming back from a kitchen snack. Okay, here we are. 2 40 bigs. 23 out of 47 in this 3K. The reloader is a distant memory. I don't even remember how our jacks got cracked. All right, little ace king off. You know what, Yumius? She was at Vaughn's late last night. She was. If you thought that you saw Michelle walking around a Vaughn's, that was her picking up some ground turkey for June. Okay, so Mr. Beaumont making the raise. Let's make the 3-bet here. Go for a little 2.5x. And Mr. Beaumont makes the check on 10-4-4. Yeah, we're not going anywhere. We're going to assume ace-king is still the better hand. It's not even a bluff. It's just a value bet. This is the bigger tournament anyway, you guys. This is the one that we wanted to win. Yeah, that was pretty disappointing, though. Off, making an 800 into a 2850 pot. Make the fold here with 5-2. You can have this one funky flop. You can have this one goat. $14.5 big blind shove by the goat. And funky flop saying, not today. Not today, sir. Carlos Jr. in the stream. Great to see you, Carlos. I hope that things are going well. Go for 1100 here. Just take it down. And we take it down, another ace. Another blind steal. Honestly, Z-Man, if there's a lesson to be learned from that hand, I think that I would be thinking more about why not 3-bet there with the ace king. I mean, ace king should definitely be in your 3-bet range. So if you're not 3-betting, then your goal is to trap, right? If you're not 3-betting with the ace king, then your goal is to get weaker hands to stack off against you in situations where they're drawing slim or drawing dead. So when a guy behind you made the shove and he calls, and then you make the squeeze play, I mean, what are you rooting for? You're hoping that he calls you. You're hoping that he calls you with worse. You'd like him to have ace queen there instead of queen 10. But when he turns over queen 10, you should actually be really happy about that. You should be like, yes, my plan worked. My plan worked to get my whole stack in the middle as a 58% favorite. When you say it like that, it doesn't sound like such a good plan, though, does it? When you say it like, okay, I just got my whole stack in as a 63% favorite here, and I'm going to do that over and over in this tournament. And yeah, that makes you, that's gonna give you plus EV if you can keep on doing that with enough of a frequency to not blind out. But I don't really think that getting your stack all in as a small to medium favorite really should be the game plan. So if because you're much better off going with the game plan of stealing blinds and playing post flop when your edges are much bigger. Stealing blinds, stealing c-betting flops, and getting good value from hands that are best, making hero calls when you're ahead, inducing bluffs, all of those other tools. Having big all-in confrontations pre-flop shouldn't really be your game plan for MTTs. I really hesitate to really even talk about this since you and I are actually like competitors on this very small site. But you're on the stream, you're asking the question, so I'll talk about it. I don't think that the goal should be to get it all in there pre-flop. So if that's not your game plan, if that's not your goal, then I think that that you're better off making the 3-bet or not making the squeeze. When he makes the shove all in and now this guy calls, if you're really going to try to trap, you're much more likely to get through post flop. And it's also, how often is it going to be where you do flop the ace or do flop the king and your opponent has a weaker ace? That's going to happen all the time. A lot of the hands that he's going to fold there, you actually want him in with. You shouldn't be rooting for the fold if he's got a hand like ace queen, ace jack, or even queen 10. You should be rooting for the call. And I think you're a lot more likely to get value from those kind of hands post flop. So I don't know. I looking at it, I think a lot of the time when that kind of scenario plays out, where it goes open, call, shove, a lot of the time this opener is going to make the call and he's going to wake up with something that is actually ahead of you. Jacks, queens, sometimes he's trying to induce that kind of shove with a hand where you're completely dominated. So I think that if there's something to learn from the hand, it's this. You probably should have 3-bet instead of just making the call. And if you're going to make the call there and you get the shove and get the call, maybe you just call as well and see a flop. You're going to have position. You probably have the best hand, but in the end, it's just ace high, and unimproved, you're probably going to run into problems with this, with the shove. You're going to have a dry pot, and you can try to extract value out of your opponent if post flop you figure to be ahead. Running ace king into whatever this guy's shoving with, and having 4K on the side. As dead money, it's all right, but I think that this guy's squeeze, the all-in shove squeeze, is better than your squeeze, because that squeeze is a lot more likely to get through. And when you're looking at smaller tournaments online, and I'm going to guess that this is probably it's probably in the 2K guaranteed or the 3K guaranteed. people are willing to, take much bigger gambles um, in smaller buy-in tournaments, especially especially because the mind craves certainty. I've said that before, and it's so true. You're a lot more likely to get someone to call you than to make a fold. It's much more likely to see somebody make a good call than a good fold. It's because people don't want to. There's this sunk cost fallacy, where you feel like you've already put in 4,000, so you're just basically wasting 4,000 and throwing away what equity you have if you make the fold. If you can see, and you can see it from his point of view, where he can create scenarios in his head where the call is a hero call. So if he can do that, then he's a lot more likely to make the call. This isn't a bracelet event. You're not on the final table bubble. You're not even. It sounded like in the situation you weren't even close to the money bubble. So in his head, he's like, well, let's go ahead and try to build a really big stack, or or be kind of back to where we started at. And I think if there's a lesson to be learned, it's not so much focusing on whether his call was good or not. Focus more on what you were trying to achieve and how you might have better achieved it. And I think that making the 3-bet pre-flop probably prevents that confrontation from happening. And if you're not going to 3-bet, then making the call and then making the call when the shorter stack shoves might have been the better way to play that too. Safari Joe, definitely tell Doc Hippocampus hello for us. Glad that he had a good and safe trip. Two times in a row. Pocket tens followed by king queen will make the same amount here. That's pretty funny, Emus. That would have been awesome if you bought her a frozen pizza. If you're like, hey, this one's on Yumius. That would have been great. Okay, so Doug Lucky makes the call. 10-9-5 on the flop. Not really what we wanted to see. But you know what? It's not that bad either. We've got overcards and a gut shot straight draw, so we've got some equity here. I'm going to go ahead and continue into Doug Lucky. We'll see if he shoves. If he does, we're looking at 10 outs twice, looking at about 40%. So, yeah, I don't know. If he makes the call and then we check on the turn and he shoves on the turn, then I think it's an easy fold. It's not such an easy fold if he makes the shove right there. There's some hands actually that we're just completely dominating. Hands like Queen Jack or King Jack. So he has a lot of semi-bluffs in his range there where King Queen is actually ahead. And if he's ahead with a hand like Ace 10, Ace 9, Jack 10, then we have a hell of a lot of outs where it's at that point when we made the bet and we're getting 2-1 to make the call if he shoves, we really should be thinking about getting it all in there even though we only have king high. Alright. J-Knight making the raise, getting called by nuts in your face. I'm going to go and make the call as well with our 8-7 offsuit. Let's pray for a miracle. Boom. That's kind of the flop we want, right? We have the open-ended straight. Draw. Any jack, any six gives us a pretty good hand here. Man, we got a lot of options here. We could, you know, I kind of like the check raise more if there's not two hearts on board. Let's go ahead and make the call and see a turn. Jack of hearts looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. That's probably going to slow J-Knight down. Maybe not, though. Maybe J-Knight fires out. We'll go for the check raise. Two of spades. Try to get a little value, and sure enough, J-Knight says, yes, sir. I will pay you off with my overpair. Mr. Beaumont making the fold. We got a little funky flop here in the big blind. Let's go ahead and make the 3-bet. Not the 3-bet, the 3x. Pretty good flop for ace king. Fire out half pot. Yeah, the main takeaway of my whole spiel, Z-Man, is when you look at how you want your tournament graph to be, how you want your what your chip accumulation strategy probably should be, very gradual increases rather than big double ups. That jack could easily have helped funky flop. I don't know. Yeah, look at that. I'm kind of at a loss in that hand, you guys. What did we just see? So funky flop ends up gutterballing his straight. We fired out another half pot bet, and funky flop decides to just make the call with the straight on a king jack 10-7 board. And yeah, okay, so he's got two straights that he's worried about, queen 9 and ace queen. But come on, man, come on! You just gutterballed your straight. You've got a huge hand here, and you're not going to get value out of me. I can't believe that you don't make the raise there. That's such a ridiculously bad way to play that hand. I'm just kind of in awe here. Like, how do you just make the call on the river? Like you don't think that there's tons and tons of hands where I'm going to be paying you off if you make a raise? Ace king, probably paying you off. You know, king jack, king 10, any type of two pair holding, any type of set holding, probably paying you off. I don't understand how funky flop can't go for a raise there. I mean, like, what is he thinking? That's actually going to get the little bony fish, because wow, like, I'm still just in absolute utter shock about how that hand played out. Not only did he just call with the open-ended straight draw, where you'd kind of expect someone to kind of play a little bit more aggro, making the call on the turn when he's not really getting the kind of odds that he probably wants to see. But then, nails his. I guess it's not a gutter ball. He had the open-ended. He nails his open-ended straight on the river. He gets his 8-outer, and doesn't get any value from it. I mean, like, I'm just in complete and utter shock and disappointment. And we're gonna go ahead and make the bony fish there. Defended with 9-8 suited in the big blind. No mistake there. You know, that's fine. Just called on a flop, king 10-7. Okay, a little passive, a little timid. called again on turn 2. Fine. Hit the jack and just called. So I guess we're going to go ahead and... I'm not even going to give him the bony fish. I'm just going to go ahead and give him the rock, which is worse than the bony fish. Just didn't get any value when he actually hit his hand, which is kind of... It's just horrible. That kind of mistake that you see on the river, that mistake is so much bigger than even like an open limping mistake. We should have something like 7,000 here. Instead, he gives us 23,000. I'll make the fold. Okay, so sitting here with 29 bigs. We got an all-in shove by Mr. Beaumont. And, yeah, I'll go ahead and make the call. I guess if Doug Lucky or Voff makes the 3-bet, I'll come along for the ride. I'm not going to love it. This is kind of an awkward spot. What about you, nuts in your face? If he makes a squeeze, do we make the call? Yeah. Nice flop there, Mr. Beaumont. Nice flop. A little bit of overkill. Well, 10-3 off, making the fold, back up to 22 bigs now. Up to 22 bigs. 27 out of 37, guys. Places paid is 10. So, almost to 4 tables. Mr. Beaumont making the call again. And you can't really talk about bad beats there, Mr. Beaumont. I mean, you got it all in twice in a row with a pair versus the overcard. 75% of the time, one of those is going to leave you disappointed. So there it is. 3 out of 4 hit. And I guess if Voff makes the fold here, Mr. Beaumont shoves, and we're going to have to make the call with 7-4 suited. 3,400 more to make the call, getting almost 2-1. Wow, Voff makes the shove. I'll make the call here. It's an okay flop for 7-4. Actually hit a pair. Pretty wet board. It's pretty sticky. Queen of clubs, making it a little bit more wet. Usually I'm making the check raise on that board, but